Today, we're jumping into Extreme Ownership, a truly game-changing book on leadership. It was written by two former Navy SEALs, Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, who took the incredibly tough lessons they learned on the battlefields of Iraq and turned them into this powerful framework that, honestly, applies to just about everything. So, let's break it down.
So let's just start with a really simple question. Think about it. When something goes wrong on your team, when a project you're on completely falls apart, who do you blame? Is it that one team member who dropped the ball? Is it just bad luck? Or is it something else?
Well, in the middle of the battle for Ramadi, one of the most dangerous places on Earth at the time, these SEALs had to face that exact question. And the answer they came up with, under the most extreme pressure imaginable, is really the core of everything we're going to talk about today.
And that answer, the whole foundation for everything else, is a principle they call extreme ownership.
Okay, so try to picture this. You're in the middle of a firefight. It's pure chaos. Bullets are flying, you can barely hear anything over the explosions, and the fog of war is just thick. And then, a radio call comes through that makes your blood run cold.
It's a blue-on-blue incident, friendly fire. I mean, this is the absolute nightmare scenario for any leader. In the confusion, they had engaged a friendly unit. An Iraqi soldier they were working with was killed, and one of their own SEALs was wounded.
So later in the debrief, you can imagine the finger-pointing could have started, right? But the commander, Jocko Willink, he just cut it short. He stepped up and said, essentially, this was my fault. Every single part of that plan that went wrong, he had approved it. He had overseen it. It was on him.
And that moment is what crystallizes this whole idea. The leader is truly and ultimately responsible for everything. Not just the things you directly do, but for every single outcome, good and especially bad.
So here's what that actually means in practice. Extreme ownership is about taking full responsibility for everything that impacts your mission. So if your team isn't performing, well, you didn't train them well enough. If people don't get the plan, you didn't explain it clearly enough. You own all of it.
And this slide just lays out that shift perfectly. In the book, they talk about a struggling VP who is stuck over there in that left column, always blaming everyone else for why his division was failing. But when he finally embraced extreme ownership, he moved to the right. He realized the problem wasn't them, it was him. He hadn't communicated the why behind the strategy. And you know what? That simple shift in perspective changed everything.
Okay, so we've got the core idea down. But how does this actually work in the real world? Well, the book lays out these laws of combat that are frankly incredibly effective in the business world too, because they're all built on that foundation of total responsibility.
So let me ask you this, and be honest. Have you ever been in a meeting where someone unveils a new plan or a new strategy, and it's so ridiculously complicated that you just find yourself nodding along, but inside you're thinking, I have absolutely no idea what I'm supposed to do? The book gives this perfect example of a bonus plan at a manufacturing plant. I mean, just look at this thing. It's got weighted models, multiple bonuses, and my personal favorite, other little nuanced factors. What does that even mean? The result was nobody understood it. The employees had no idea what to aim for, so performance just tanked.
And this whole situation violates a crucial law of combat. Keep it simple. On the battlefield, complicated plans fall apart the second things go wrong. Simplicity isn't about dumbing things down. It's about being so clear that your team can understand the mission, adapt when things get messy, and still make it happen.
So how'd they fix it? Simplicity. They threw out that crazy formula and replaced it with just two things. That's it. Two key metrics: weighted units produced and the quality score. And guess what? Efficiency and focus went through the roof. Simplicity just plain wins.
All right, next up, prioritize and execute. So there was this pharmaceutical CEO who was trying to fix his company's money problems by tackling, well, look at this list, 8 top priorities all at the same time. The result? His team was totally overwhelmed, running in a million directions at once, and they weren't really getting anything done.
And as the consultants basically told him, look, when you try to do everything, you end up doing nothing well. Trying to attack on 8 different fronts means you can't win on any of them. It's just a recipe for burnout and failure.
The SEAL's approach to this kind of chaos is to relax, look around, and make a call. What that means is you identify the single biggest problem, the one thing that will make the biggest difference, and you throw all of your energy and resources at that one thing. Only when you've got that handled do you move on to the next priority.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most difficult part of leadership that the book covers: discipline.
The book tells this story of a CEO named Andy. His company had a division that was just bleeding money,
A total disaster. But here's the problem. The division was run by his good friend, Mike. So out of loyalty, Andy kept it open, even though it was dragging the entire company and everybody's jobs down with it.
Andy was asked this brutal but absolutely necessary question. As a leader, you have to be loyal to your people, of course, but that loyalty can become a huge weakness if it's not balanced with what the mission needs. Andy's loyalty to just one person was putting everyone else at risk.
This gets at what the authors call the dichotomy of leadership. It's about balance. They use this incredibly powerful analogy from World War II. When a ship got hit, sometimes sailors had to make the impossible choice to seal off a flooded compartment, even with their friends still inside, to save the rest of the ship. Leadership sometimes means having the discipline to make those hard calls for the good of the whole team.
And this all comes down to the final takeaway. It might sound like a paradox, but discipline equals freedom. Discipline in your standards means your team can operate with more freedom. Discipline to make the hard calls ensures the team gets to survive and fight another day. In the end, it's the disciplined leader, the one who owns everything, simplifies the plan, prioritizes correctly, and makes the tough calls, who actually achieves freedom. The freedom to maneuver, the freedom to lead, and ultimately the freedom to win.